Hi everybody and welcome to another piano video here on the Merriam Pianos YouTube channel. My name is Stu Harrison. In today's video we're going to be exploring the question of whether it is worth it to spend a few more bucks to get a good set of headphones if you are buying and playing on a digital piano. A few years ago the answer would have been an absolute no, because the fidelity of the headphone output just didn't render a better experience regardless of the headphone quality that you had on. We weren't talking about particularly great DA converters. We weren't talking about high fidelity samples to begin with. It really just wasn't a focus. The headphone thing really was an afterthought. But in the last few years, it has totally changed, and digital piano companies have invested quite a bit into R&D improving the headphone output. Now, on your end, the consumer, do you follow suit and do you actually invest? Does it make a difference? So we're going to explore that question in today's video. If it's the first time you're seeing us here on the YouTube channel, we would really love for you to hit that subscribe and the notification bell so that we see you back for more videos in the future. So without further ado, let's jump right in with today's question of whether it is worth it to spend on headphones. Headphone technology on digital pianos certainly has come a long way, particularly in the last 5 years. On most high-end digital pianos and even mid-range digital pianos from say about the $2,000 range and up, and there are even a few exceptions below that point, you are going to find technology embedded on the digital pianos that are designed to give more options and more customization to the whole headphone experience. There is various digital signal processing that is being loaded onto the brands that give you like the ability to control how wide the stereo field seems. It lets you set a particular headphone type, which often applies a certain EQ. And then just the fidelity, the audio in the headphone amplifier itself has increased dramatically over the same period of time. And it's gotten to a point where digital piano manufacturers obviously think that piano buyers are placing a big emphasis on the headphone experience. However, in my own observations of digital piano buying behavior and just what customers are talking about, most customers are still treating the headphone purchase as really an afterthought. And I think the pervasive opinion is likely that it doesn't really matter that much what headphone you wear, because it's not like you're plugging it into a $30,000 audiophile system. Now, I'm going to be playing on my own digital piano here, which happens to be a Kawai Novus 5. Now, this instrument would be indicative of the type of sound technology that you get certainly within Kawai as soon as you cross about the $3,000–$4,000 range. This has the same sound engine or the sound technology that you're going to get in the CA79, CA99, and the Nova series as well. If you happen to get the Auras versions of their acoustic hybrid instruments, well then kind of the same sound engine in there. Yamaha is going to have a similar level of tone technology at approximately the same price point. Roland as well, once you get into some of their full, high quality, full rendering piano engines in their LX or their top stage piano editions. So you don't have to spend 10 grand or more on a digital piano to get the kind of technology that could really leverage a great headphone. In fact, you could argue all the way down into the $1,000 range at this point, you're getting a pretty good experience. So I set out to try and answer this question for myself. And I'm going to be using a set of headphones that is around the $100 mark, around the $200 mark, around the $250 mark, and around the $300 mark, just to see as we go up in price whether we actually do hear a difference both in detail, quality, and just overall enjoyment. The headphones that I am going to be using for this particular, we'll call it test in quotation marks, but it's really just sort of an interesting experience I'm trying out and sharing with you, is going to be our lowest level is a Shure SRH840. The next one up from a price point standpoint is actually a Roland set, and we're going to be using their top headphone, which is the RH300. Then these are no longer in production, but not by a huge amount. These are Austrian-made AKGs. These are the K171s. Really have had these for a while and really enjoyed them. And then a set of headphones and really an audio company that is quite new to me, but as I did some digging, certainly making quite the impact, which is the Meze 99 Classics. Rather pretty looking pair of headphones. And these are the ones that are floating just around the 300 USD mark. So those are the headphones I'm going to be using, and essentially going to play on all four of them. And I'm going to be listening to several things that I know inexpensive headphones really don't do a very good job of at all when you are playing piano. One of them is how little distortion you get when you start to thicken the chords up down in this range here. Usually what happens is the lower quality headphone, the more you really start to get this like broken up rumble as soon as you get 5 or 6 notes playing at once all underneath middle C. And it definitely breaks the illusion that you're in front of a real piano when the headphone does that. Another thing is really what the transients are like. So that's like the instant that a sound really kind of activates, or the attack of the sound. How gentle it is, how piercing it is there like a really big difference through the range? That's going to be an interesting thing. And then just overall detail. Sometimes in the high end, particularly for a piano that has duplex scale, you want to be able to hear that insane level of little detail that just adds that extra shimmer. This instrument is based on a real instrument that has duplexing, so want to see whether it takes advantage of that. And then kind of the ultimate, when you know an instrument has been recorded in a real space with real microphones and the quality of the recording has been done well. When the headphone's good enough, you start to get this kind of sense of space that's described as the sound stage amongst people who evaluate headphones on a regular basis, which is definitely not me. I'm not a headphone guy, but I have to admit making this video has made me want to be a headphone guy. Who knows? We'll see where this leads. So I'm going to start out with the Shures. We're going to plug those in, going to play it for a minute, and then I'm just going to describe what I'm experiencing along the way. Certainly some great detail when you're playing nice open stuff in the middle of the keyboard. And a very clear stereo image that's being painted. Let's play in that lower section we were talking about. So it does tend to get muddy down in that lower range. That's like mega mud. So my experience on these headphones, I would say, is actually quite positive. There's not really any boominess or woofiness to the bass when you're playing single notes or double notes. You definitely experience some major muddiness as soon as you start to thicken up things in the lower end. But depending on your repertoire, something like this would still, I think, provide a great experience. Moving through the mid-range, you get a sense that there's certainly a lot of clarity. You know, the stereo image is really nicely established. You've got a great sense of left and right. The top end, there's no real harshness to it. It's an extremely enjoyable playing experience. But having recorded this in a lot of detail, I know for a fact that there's quite a bit of sense of air and a sense of space that isn't quite coming through on there. There's definitely no sense of sort of 3D space. You know, if I close my eyes, I still feel like I'm kind of just hearing a flat tone. So let's move one up. We're going to go up to the Rolands now. So here are the RH300s. Very different EQ to this. A lot more high-end detail coming through here, and a much more pronounced mid-range as well. Certainly you start to get a sense of space in the kind of the upper mid-range playing these headphones, which is probably where most of the time you're going to spend, you know, playing melodies as a piano player. kind of a bit of a loss of power right in the very, very top. Which, you know, some people get really sensitive hearing right in the very top, so who knows if that's intentional or not. Yeah, not quite as warm on the bass, but certainly I'm starting to hear more detail, and because I'm getting more detail through that mid-range, I'm starting to get a sense that I'm actually sort of at a real piano. There is more presence there, yeah, that was probably the biggest difference I noticed there. Still experiencing some distortion on the low end when I really loaded up. I wouldn't say it was any better or much better than the Shure, but definitely the mid-range and upper mid-range detail on that Roland had more to offer. Moving on now to the AKGs. Interesting. So the kind of detail I was getting in the mid-range and upper range of the Roland, I'm now hearing throughout the entire range, which is really quite interesting. Everything just feels tighter. There's just no woofiness to it at all. And now some of that lower range distortion I was talking about seems to be much more diminished. Let's see if we get anything more going up one more step, because that was certainly a great playing experience there on those AKGs for sure. Granted, we are starting to get in, to most people probably consider starting to get into some pretty serious money for headphones. Finally, 99 Classics. There's a top to the note on this that I wasn't actually hearing on any of the other headphones. So here's what I'm getting here. Both the AKG, Roland, and the Mezes, we're getting that top sort of sheer, or sheen rather, that you get when you're playing a real acoustic piano at the top with that duplex, and you've got a little bit of, sometimes there's a bit of plate resonance happening there, and it's just this really cool ethereal thing going on. But the biggest difference that I'm getting with the Mezes is that if you listen carefully enough when you're playing a real piano, you actually have that same kind of shimmer happening at a lower level, but in the mid-range. And I'm getting that on these headphones, and it creates this sense of transparency to the point where I actually swear that I was playing with open back headphones, even though all 4 of these that we're playing are closed headphones. But whereas the Roland had that sort of upper mids a little more pronounced, but was missing the top detail to reveal that, this feels like it's just better curved on that one. There's just a hint of a little bit of distortion happening on the lower end, but it's the least of all of them. So here's what I've sort of quickly concluded in this short video is, if you've got a digital piano that's good enough to drive a good set of headphones, as you go up through these various price points, you are getting more. The experience is actually improving. And with those, what I've really noticed is you finally get that sense of true three-dimensional space, because it's giving you so much detail that as long as that's been captured in the original sample, it really does transform the playing experience. So my conclusions would be this: if you've got the budget and you've purchased an instrument that has the kind of audio fidelity built into it, and particularly if it has a dedicated headphone amplifier, which you should be able to find out in the specs or just talk to your dealer, I would say that if you're going to be playing it with headphones quite a bit, it is definitely worth it, particularly on an instrument like a digital piano that's going to challenge headphones likely more than most other musical instruments would, because of just the sheer range of both complexity and frequency. It would be worth your while to consider moving up from your typical $40 or $50 Best Buy headphones and getting into something that might be a bit more of a serious spend, but is going to really totally change how you hear and how you enjoy your digital piano when you're in headphone mode. So just to recap, this was a quick comparison of the Shure SRH840s, moving to the Roland RH300s, the AKG K171s, and finally a brand that was new to me, but by the looks of their website is hardly new to anybody else. Seems like they picked up quite a few awards in the last few years, is the Meze 99 Classics. Hope you've enjoyed this discussion on sort of headphones and how it can change a digital piano playing experience, and the impact that budget can have on what you get out of those headphones. I realize it's hardly a scientific study, but this was more of an exploration of the concept of really whether it was worth it to spend that extra bucks. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If it's the first time that you have found us here on the channel, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe and notification bell. We'd love to see you back for more videos. Become a regular viewer and commenter of the channel. Really helps us out, and we're always coming out with new videos, so that way you will know and be informed, and you come by and watch it with us. My name is Stu Harrison. This has been Merriam Pianos on YouTube, and have yourselves a great day.